Hey, what up guys? We're back for some more breakdown videos for Street Fighter 6 on the latest trailer here where they revealed Lily, Zangief, and Cammy. We've already broken down Zangief and Lily, so be sure to check those out on the channel. And we're down to the last one, Cammy. And she is by far the most popular of the three characters. It seems like she's the only character people talk about, how everyone wants to main Cammy. The Cammy army grows.
Yeah, unfortunately, Zangief's glistening abs weren't enough to dissuade people from looking at Cammy. You know, they've been ogling at this character for quite some time now.
Yeah, so let's go through this trailer in order here. The first thing we see is a brand new target combo for Cammy. And this one's interesting. It does 3 hits total. Now, the first hit is her standing heavy punch, her classic one, but this is known for its speed. But in Street Fighter 6, there's a lot of normals that have longer range now. And I noticed that Cammy's kind of leaning forward a little bit, bending her knees.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious how this will be used for with punishment as such, especially in a game like Street Fighter 6, where it's definitely the main focus of the game, considering its speed and its cancelability.
Now, what makes this target combo really unique is the second hit, because Cammy is actually airborne. She does this rising knee attack, and this part is actually cancelable. So she can go into like a dive kick from this that we see later on in the trailer, but she can continue on to the third hit, and that knocks the opponent down.
Right, and I'm curious as to what the use of this hit actually is, because the second hit is cancelable. I wonder if this means that damage would be higher, or maybe there's follow-ups that are possible in the corner if you do the complete target combos. It seems that Cammy recovers relatively quickly. I'm just curious to see what the purpose is.
Yeah, maybe just the third hit's there for beginners, possibly. There are some target combos that are like that you just simply don't use in Street Fighter. I hope that's not the case. I hope every target combo has some type of utility. Now, the next thing we see is Cammy cancel her standing heavy punch into the spin knuckle. And by the way, you're going to see the standing heavy punch a lot in this trailer. This is like one of our core buttons to cancel to. But the spin knuckle, it returns, and in Street Fighter 5, this was her V-skill 1, which I really didn't like, by the way, because it was just such a, I don't know, boring V-skill to have, because it's just a special move that they made, a V-skill, right? That she already had. And we noticed that her spin knuckle, it doesn't knock down, and I'm actually surprised that it even combos, by the way, because it is quite a slow move.
Right, this is possibly a callback to what they tried to do in Street Fighter 4 Omega, where the move was sped up considerably. Although in that game, I believe it's still a knockdown. And I also wonder if the heavier versions will autocorrect like they do in Street Fighter 5, you know, when they cross you up and hit on the other side. Because this version definitely doesn't travel very far, so it probably wouldn't do that.
She could be using a lighter medium to make it combo in the first place, but I also am curious if this move is going to go through Fireball still as well. We know that the Spiral Arrow, the OD version, might go through Projectile, so she would have a lot of tools for this. But once again, this is quite a slow move, and in Street Fighter 5, they reward you for landing this because you're able to combo afterwards. So moving on, we see a quick B&B. We see Cammy do standing medium punch, linked to the standing light kick, and then she cancels it into Spiral Arrow. Now, both the standing medium punch and standing light kick have a different animation from Street Fighter 5.
Right, the standing medium punch has the traditional animation for far standing medium punch, like in Street Fighter 4 and other games, while the standing light kick is a completely new animation to any of the games.
Dude, that standing light kick for Cammy in Street Fighter 5 was so insane because it was like the ultimate tick throw shimmy button. She barely moved backwards when the opponent blocked it. They had to nerf that standing light kick so bad.
I would assume it's minus this time around as opposed to being plus.
I also noticed that the Spiral Arrow doesn't go quite that far, and since she's canceling from a standing light kick, I would assume she's using a weaker version. Also, to no surprise, since Cammy is an in-your-face, you know, rushdown kind of character, after the Spiral Arrow, she seems to be quite close to JP, so she most likely still gets Oki after the Spiral Arrow to continue pressure. Now we see another target combo, but this is the Street Fighter 5 target combo. It's her back medium punch into heavy kick, and then she cancels it the second hit into her DP. Now, the first thing, Mira, is this back medium punch is back now. Is it still going to be an insane anti-air, even though it doesn't have an anti-air hitbox?
Well, the speed was definitely quite impressive for a medium at only 4 frames. It's possible that it will be her fast combo starter button, especially because this target combos we see is cancelable, you know, and leads to damage. And a side switch as well, as the DP goes on the other side.
Right, so let's discuss Cammy's unique trait in Street Fighter 6. As you can see, this cannon spike is not a normal one. It does many hits, and it goes at a very extreme angle, more of like a 45-degree angle, and it side switches. And that's because it's not her normal cannon spike. So Cammy's going to have the ability to charge specific moves The heavy version of her cannon spike, spiral arrow, and even her hooligan combination all have these charge versions that will amplify its properties or damage. And it seems that this comes at no extra cost and resources, just the extra charge time at the beginning.
Right, so in this combo we see that the heavy DP clearly has a special effect on it. You can see that Cammy is holding a stance just for a tiny bit.
It's also cool Capcom found a way for her to get her like enhanced spiral arrow and such from her V-Trigger 1 and then put it into her core move list. And next up we have Cammy's taunt. She's apparently stretching like a cat. I get the reference. Nothing more to see here, guys. Moving on.
You know how they say that cats really just want to kill you all the time? Well, Cammy can do it for real, so just don't go and give her belly rubs, otherwise you're gonna find yourself dead in a ditch.
Anyways, this taunt broke the internet. I'm sure everyone went straight to their pre-orders right after they saw this in the trailer, so...
Absolutely.
Alright, so the next thing we see in the trailer is Cammy do her hooligan combination. This is kind of like her demon flip move. And then she follows it up with a cannon strike, her dive kick. This is the normal version of her hooligan, by the way. We see the charged up version later. Now, the hooligan has a lot of utility because, as you know, there's a lot of follow-ups you can do from this move. And they seem to all still be there in Street Fighter 6. She still has, you know, the grab, the fatal leg twister. She still has the empty follow-up where you don't press anything and she does the slide kick as well. We know that from the audio leaks.
Right. One of the big weaknesses of Hooligan Combination in the past was that she had no overhead out of it. There was not really any reason to not down back this, aside from the dive kick being spaced and possibly beam plus.
Right.
But as we're going to see, this has changed in Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, so she actually has an extra follow-up this time, the reverse edge. And if you guys remember, this was part of Cammy's move list when she activated her V-Trigger 2, called Delta Ambush. So now her hooligan has an actual mix-up this time, because now if the opponent crouches to avoid the throw, the fatal leg twister, they can get hit by the reverse edge, the overhead. And we know how Cammy players like to complain about not having an overhead mirror.
Yeah, and I mean, it would have been an interesting exception looking at Street Fighter 6's roster, where it seems like everyone has an overhead of some kind. Basically, it turned into an Akuma demon flip. She doesn't have an air fireball, but basically,
it's gonna be really good in this game. Also, should point out, Mir, that from this specific clip where it shows the reverse edge, we don't know if it's from a hooligan. Like, she could just be able to do this reverse edge raw.
Right. She seems to be quite high in the air, which makes me think that it might not be from a hooligan. But we also know that it is possible to do it from a hooligan, as we see later on.
Now, the trailer continues to show more follow-ups from the hooligan. So we see the fatal leg twister this time. That was the grab we're talking about. The animation has slightly changed.
Yeah, this move used to switch sides, but in the Street Fighter 6, it seems to maintain screen position. So if you land this on a corner of the opponent, for example, you still would have the advantage.
I would imagine the hooligan grab now is even more dangerous, because most of the time you don't want to get hit by the overhead, because we know we can convert into a combo after in some situations. So players are going to stand block a lot more now.
Right. And in case you think that jumping away might be a good idea, remember that the hooligan's throw also hits you in the air. Speaking of air throws, I wonder if that one's going to show up again. And
it's going to have
animation.
It's going to have a way different animation. All right, now we get to see this huge combo from Cammy. So it starts off with a jumping heavy kick, and then she lands and then does her new target combo we saw before, standing heavy punch into the second hit, which is that airborne knee kick. And then she cancels it into her OD cannon strike, her dive kick, into her OD spiral arrow, and then into her OD cannon spike. So quite a hefty combo, a lot of hits here, and a lot of meter usage. Now, the cool part of all these special attacks is the OD versions seem to have kind of the same effects as the charged up versions.
Yeah, at least visually, it appears that they might have the same effects. In fact, on the overdrive cannon spike, the DP, we see that same red streak, of course, on top of the yellow glow of the overdrive move.
We also see this entire combo side switch a couple of times, which is pretty cool. I would imagine this combo does a lot of damage since Cammy's basically spending all of her drive meter for this. But the fact that this combo starts from a target combo is also pretty crazy if you think about it too.
Interestingly, Cammy doesn't burn herself out here. There's a few theories as to why this might be. One is that it's just movie magic, like as in they're using training mode. But I believe that what Capcom shows in their footage is always pretty deliberate. So it's possible that you could cancel one of these moves into another for a reduced cost in a way that is very similar to Luke, how he can do his extended follow-ups for only one extra OD bar instead of two, or maybe doing that OD cannon strike cancel from the target combo only costs one bar.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. I think since Cammy already has a unique trait, I'm gonna say it's just because they're in training mode. We know from before, like when we were doing the Zangief breakdown, his drive impact was crumpling the opponent without countering a move, or his drop kick was a punish counter even though the opponent wasn't recovering from anything. So I'm going to assume this is just the case with her. All right, so moving on, we see Cammy do a perfect parry, and then she goes straight into her level 2. So her level 2 super is called Killer Bee's Spin. She instantly attacks from the air.
Right, we've done some more frame counting here. Because of how fast their super was in Street Fighter V, we wanted to see if they were going to have a repeat on this, but it doesn't seem the case. It seems quite slow, like upwards of more than 10 frames.
Also, did you know, Mir, this is a Street Fighter animated movie reference to Cammy?
Oh boy, I didn't know that.
Everyone in the world has pointed this out. This was when Cammy was assassinating that senator. Going somewhere, Mr. Sellers. I used to watch that anime so much as a kid, like over 1,000 times. So it's really cool that they put this into the animation. Do you think the super could be done in the air? Because it's kind of like Kimberly's.
It would make it very scary because of how Cammy is already quite mobile in the air thanks to the dive kick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to do something like a normal anti-air and then, you get hit by the super, you can see it being kind of frustrating.
And I would imagine this would be insane against zoners too, such a huge threat to have this super. So the last thing we see in the trailer is the charged up version of the Hooligan now, and you can see Cammy winding up and then all of a sudden just a huge burst jump, and then she goes into her reverse edge, but the reverse edge actually does 2 hits here, and then she's able to land and combo to her standing heavy punch cannon spike into her level 3. So the first thing I want to talk about is this charged up Hooligan. Man, it goes really far and it's really fast after you charge it.
Right, and I guess the way this is balanced is that Cammy is just sitting there on the ground charging it up for a little bit. We unfortunately don't get to see all of the startup, but we assume that if you're playing against a wary opponent, there's definitely pros and cons here. But if you're not ready or you don't have a DP, that might be pretty difficult to anti-air considering how speedy it is.
Yeah, you can't let Cammy get away with this move. This is nuts. Like, she closes the gap so quickly. This will help her get in, and it will probably go over fireballs because, the Hooligan already naturally goes over fireballs. And then you have the threat of the overhead and the throw, like I would imagine during the first month, Cammy players will be getting away with this a lot. Like this looks like her go-to Unga move.
And we see that the reverse edge, like you mentioned, is empowered. So I would imagine that also all the other follow-ups would be empowered as well. So the slide, the throw, I wonder what they do. Maybe it's more damage or they pop you up for a combo or something.
Now the reverse edge hitting twice, I would imagine only the first hit is the overhead. But either way, she's plus enough where she can land and then do a ground combo. In this case, she goes standing heavy punch into her cannon spike into the level 3. But she can do like a target combo afterwards, for example, or this looks very strong.
And it's possible that on block, it might be much safer. I would imagine that the dive kick is kind of like the safe-ish move that you would use out of the air to approach someone who's blocking, but the overhead wouldn't be particularly safe, right? But this version definitely seems like it would be. It could even be plus for all we know, right?
Yeah, I'm really liking this reverse edge being part of her normal tool set rather than, being locked away from her V-trigger too. It's going to allow Cammy to really shine in the air now and have that overhead pressure that she needed before to open you up rather than just throwing you a million times,
And it's worth mentioning that it's important to have different tools in a game like Street Fighter 6 because let's just say that they completely replace the dive kick with the reverse edge, the overhead. Then maybe Drive Impact might have been a really good answer against it, for example, and then she would have been screwed, right? But having the option of having both the dive kick and the overhead can help her deal with different situations.
Since we're dealing with different universal mechanics in this game, the characters have to change too to deal with them. Now the level 3 animation, we actually saw this months ago during that huge leak. When I watched this live, I was like, hey, they changed the ender a little bit, but as a lot of people pointed out, This is most likely not the CA version like that was leaked initially. So I would imagine the animation actually is still the same. So let's wrap this up, guys. Let us know what you think of the new Cammy for Street Fighter 6. The fact now that she has the reverse edge as an overhead and that she can charge up her core special attacks. Really interesting. Can't wait to get my hands on her. She's definitely one of the characters that I'm possibly thinking of maining, and I'm sure everyone else in the world right now after seeing the trailer. We'll get back to you guys when we get some more Street Fighter 6 news. So until then, take care, guys. Peace.
Bye bye.